This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome, dog lovers, to Dr. Cat, Gone to the Dogs. On today's episode, I have a neat guest, Dr. Jessica Vogelsang. Dr. V is the Chief Medical Officer for the American Animal Hospital Association. She also does some other cool stuff that we want to talk to her about. So we'll be right back after a quick break to talk to Dr. V.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Dr. Cat, Gone to the Dogs. And I have Dr. Jessica Vogelsang here with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about her and the American Animal Hospital Association. So, hi, Dr. V.
Hi, how are you?
I am excellent. So, I know you, but my listeners don't. So I want to talk a little bit about you because you've got a lot of interesting things that landed you here. Can you talk about yourself?
Oh, sure. It is interesting because when you hear, a chief medical officer of an association, that doesn't necessarily sound very interesting, right? But before I came to AHA, I actually worked in small animal practice in San Diego for 20 years. So this is something really near and dear to my heart. I did small animal medicine for a while. I did emergency. I actually helped develop an in-home hospice and euthanasia practice here in the San Diego area. I started writing a book. So I did all sorts of different things, really in the trenches, working with pet owners every day. It's my favorite thing to do. I love people and their pets. And so when I had this opportunity to come into AHA, I really couldn't turn it down because I think there's so much as a profession we can do to continue to build those bonds of trust with our pet owners and make sure that we're all working together to serve the needs of our pets. So that's really why I'm here.
I agree completely. I have a saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think that we can always improve our relationships with pet owners and the things that we can do for pets. So yay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what is AHA for my listeners. Let's start there.
Sure. So AHA is an accrediting body. So essentially, when you go to a hospital, it's accredited for yourself. All human hospitals are accredited. They have to have a third party come in and make sure that they're living up to a certain set of standards. That is not the case for animal hospitals. And so you have a license to practice and open your business in your state, but there isn't any sort of neutral third party who's making sure that you are following the gold standards for anesthetizing a pet, and are you doing pain management the right way, and all those sorts of things. And so AHA offers a voluntary accreditation process for animal hospitals, of which yours is one. Thank you so much. And so really only about 12% of hospitals in North America have this accreditation. So it's very prestigious, but it essentially is you allowing your hospital to be evaluated by a third party to ensure that you are providing the best possible care for pets and their families. And so when you as a pet owner see that sticker in the window, that means that hospital has invested a significant amount of time into proving that they are taking excellent care of your pets and that they are worthy of trust.
Right. And it's kind of it's a big deal. I mean, we have an inspector come in, and yes, we are, Applebrook Animal Hospital is AHA accredited. And that is a very valuable metric to me. I just want to be sure that we are doing the best that we can. Can you talk about, I know what it is, but can you talk about like the criteria of anesthesia and cleanliness and all that kind of stuff. Can you kind of tell my listeners what that is?
It's a lot, as you know, right? So there's about 900 standards, and we evaluate them every year to make sure we have the right ones up there. There are things that need to be revised. And so as a hospital, you have this book in front of you, and there's things that you absolutely non-negotiable have to do. Do you have a separate anesthesia room? So for example, you want your room to be very, 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 very clean. You don't want any sort of dirt or things from your daily life in the practice getting in there. And so you have to have a separate dedicated facility for surgery. So that's just sort of one example. Do you have a registered technician? What sort of steps are they taking? Who's monitoring the anesthesia on your pet? How is the record keeping? That is so important. And those are the sorts of things that as a pet owner, you wouldn't have visibility to that, and you wouldn't know to ask, hey, how are you maintaining, the records to make sure that somebody's checking my pet's temperature, the entire time during the procedure to make sure that their temperature's not getting too low. But all of those little things are the things that we validate as inspectors when we come in every 3 years. We check your medical records? Are your x-rays not only positioned in a way that's making sure that the pet is safe, but the staff as well? There's a lot of safety standards in there. And we have pain management that we check, and we reevaluate our standards every several years, because pain management and medications, those needs change over time as medicine gets better. And so we want our standards to evolve to reflect that as well. 20 years ago, pain management was considered optional by a lot of people, and that's no longer the case. And so all of those different things come into play with these evaluations. They're all day. It's substantial. It's a lot of work, but boy, a team sure has a sense of pride when you come out on the other end and said, we did it. We know that we are the absolute best that we can be.
Well, so I think that perhaps pet owners don't really realize why maybe one practice can do, I don't know, for easy math, one practice can do a spay for $100, but maybe my practice is more than that. And so I think that unless they knew which questions to ask, they would think that those were equivalent things. And I think that our accreditation kind of explains why maybe we have to charge a little bit more, because we have pain coverage, because we have, an assistant monitoring every few minutes the vitals of the pet. We have monitors that check their heart rate and that kind of stuff. So I really feel like being an AAHA accredited hospital sets us apart. Now, I am kind of thrilled that it's only 12% of animal hospitals that take the time to prove how good they are. That's awesome.
Yes, it is. And it is such an important badge, because it is a big differentiator. And we know that there are hospitals who they don't pass, they don't qualify. And so certainly not everybody out there is going to be eligible. And so those things matter. Those things are really important. And what's nice is, as a pet owner, anytime that you are going into a medical facility, whether it's for yourself or your pet, you don't have the time, and it's not necessarily on you to know, how do I evaluate whether this place is doing all the things that they need to be doing? How do I know my doctor is good, right? All I can do is sort of check their license and ask for recommendations. And so the AAHA accreditation, it is a neutral third party that says, we've gone in there and we know what to ask. Even if you don't, we know what to look for. And we are confident that they are doing all the things that they need to do to be the absolute gold standard right now in excellent practice.
So it's a step better than just reading the Google reviews. I mean, I tell people, read reviews on products, read reviews on doctors, whatever. But these are people that know the difference that are evaluating. And I think that's really important.
It is. And, the reviews are sometimes helpful, sometimes not, right? There's a lot of things that you can glean from reviews. But as a pet owner, there's only so much that you can see. And there are a lot of things behind the table that you can't see. So you can consider AAHA accreditation sort of like a behind the doors evaluation or review of the clinic, right? And so I know for me, my mother was an RN. And so she was really plugged into our local healthcare system. And that was so nice, because when I wanted a doctor, I could ask her, and I would say, well, as a nurse, the doctors, the people that return calls and communicate and make sure your lab results. Who do you recommend? And so this is really the same way. Our evaluators are trained practice managers, veterinary technicians, they all come from within the veterinary field, and they are all super passionate about working with hospitals. And it's always a great conversation, because a lot of clinics come in and they're almost there. And I would love to sort of hear your experience with this as well, because oftentimes somebody isn't quite doing something yet, but this is an opportunity to say, oh, hey, let's revise how we're doing this. And now we're even better on the other side. So not only is it proving that you're already doing things really well, but it's an opportunity to do things even better. And that's a lot, because you don't have to do it. This is voluntary. You could be a very successful hospital without going through that. But that value of demonstrating that to your patients, I think it shows so much respect for clients and for pet parents that you're investing in that badge and that time.
Well, so sometimes I have pet parents call and ask if we're AAHA accredited, which I think is pretty awesome, because we can say awesome. Yes, but how do my listeners find out if the practice they're considering going to is AAHA accredited? Is there a directory, or can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So we have a hospital locator on our website, AAHA.org. So AAHA.org. And so we have all sorts of information there about what it means to be accredited. There is some pet owner information on there as well. Most hospitals who go through all that work and effort will tell you, as they should, we want them to be loud and proud about being AAHA accredited. And so oftentimes they will have the badge on their website and the signs out front as well. So we encourage it. And, if you love your hospital and they're not AAHA accredited, let them know to reach out. We'd love to have a conversation and see if it's something that they might be interested in, because we're really proud. 12% of hospitals are accredited. I'd love for it to be more. Like the invitation's open to anybody who wants to join with us, because we really believe in what we do.
Absolutely. So I do want to take a quick break, but there are some other things that AAHA does that I would like to share with my listeners and talk with you about, because I think they do a lot of really good services to our pet owners and our pet population. So let's take a quick break and be right back.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Dr. Cat Gone to the Dogs on Pet Life Radio. So Dr. Vogelsang and I are just talking about the American Animal Hospital Association and what it means for your animal hospital to be accredited, and why pet owners should care, and how is a good way to find out if your practice is. But the American Animal Hospital Association does some other really good things, like hosting studies and publishing guidelines. So I want to talk with Dr. V about that, because I really appreciate that they do that.
Oh, great. I love the guidelines. They're one of the favorite things that we do here at AAHA. And so we have a bunch of different guidelines. They're essentially current best practices for veterinary medicine. And so that's something that we do that's open to anybody. You can go to our website and see all the guidelines that we have out there. We take a bunch of subject matter experts. We take this really great task force together and say, all right, well, right now in 2022, what is the most important thing for veterinarians to do when it comes to, for example, canine vaccinations? And so we just published the 2022 canine vaccination guideline just last week. And it talks about things like personalized recommendations for vaccines. And so as a pet owner, we know that comes up all the time, right? We know that every pet needs to be vaccinated for parvo. Every pet needs to be vaccinated for rabies. The guideline will tell you how frequently that needs to happen, when they need to be boosted. But then it goes into a lot of detail about all the rest of the things. Does every pet need a leptospirosis vaccine? What about Bordetella? What about kennel cough or canine flu? And so it goes into a lot of detail about the sorts of things in medicine that evolve. And we revise those guidelines usually every 5 to 8 years or so. So we do it for things like that. We do it for nutrition. Do you know if your pet's overweight? Here's some things that your vet can bring to the table to help you understand what that means and why it matters. The pain management guidelines are a huge one. That's one, we get new pain medications pretty much every year. And so the way that we handle pain, even now in 2022, is different than it was a year or two ago. So as medicine changes, it's really important that we stay on top of those things. And so the guidelines help us do that. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I love the guidelines because, as you and I both know very personally, bad news kind of spreads fast. And so the idea that veterinarians are over vaccinating or doing things that pets don't really need kind of spreads like wildfire. But AAHA is there to say, no, wait, here are these guidelines. If your veterinarian is following these guidelines, then the latest science supports the choices they're making. And so as a veterinarian, I certainly appreciate that. And I know my listeners like being able to look up things like that.
Absolutely. And again, they're geared towards veterinarians, but they're available to everyone. I've always felt, as a well-educated pet owner, why not? If you want to learn and see what the science says and look at the studies, oh my gosh, we've got, hundreds of references in the scientific literature for these documents. We're not trying to hide anything. I want you to know what we're basing these recommendations on. And it's published literature and it's all those things that really matter and prove, with data and research, that's what these recommendations are based on. And that's why people can trust them.
And I think trust is where it's at. I mean, the reason you choose your veterinarian is because you trust them to make good choices for your pet. And if they're partnered with AAHA, then you can know that they are doing their part to make the best recommendations. And so that is why I wanted to talk with you about it today, not just because my practice is AAHA accredited, but because I know a lot of other really great veterinarians that are also AAHA accredited. And I love having pet owners that ask me, people email me questions, ask me in my exam room because they've read, and I want them to know that AAHA is a resource. So tell my listeners, again, the website where they might be able to find out information they might want to know about their pets.
Yep. So AAHA.org, AAHA.org. And that's got our hospital locator and just all sorts of different information on there. But absolutely, and I just want to put a rubber stamp on that idea of trust. You have to trust your provider. If you don't trust them, if something happened to make you question that, investigate why. Because if you don't have that, if you can't start from that place, everything else becomes so much harder, and you deserve it. Your pets deserve it. And, hopefully AAHA is just one way that we can help people establish that bridge and that trust.
Okay. So we covered the stuff we need to, but there are some cool things about you that I want to talk about because you are also an author.
Yeah.
And so tell my listeners about how many books do you have?
I have one.
Oh, I thought you had two. Okay.
I was going to, but I've been distracted at AAHA.
Really? What are you doing? So tell my listeners about your book then.
So my book is called All Dogs Go to Kevin. It was published in 2015, and it's a memoir about 3 pets who changed my life and really talks about my career when I was in practice. So lots of stories about showing up to work every day and the characters that you meet. So I had a blast writing it. It's one of the things I'm the most proud of.
I think your book is the reason I found you, because I have a book too. And I don't know, somehow we just sort of linked up and have a lot of common experiences and stuff. So it's really cool. And so I feel like I'm a part of the things that you're doing now.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things. I think everybody knows James Herriot, right? And he's really created this narrative that lives in people's heads about what it means to be a veterinarian. And he definitely captured what it meant to be a veterinarian, in his time where he lived. But the story's so different now. And there's so many amazing stories. And so absolutely, as writers have to stick together. You've got incredible stories from your practice. It's so fun to be in a profession that has stories. My husband and I love him, and he works in IT. And I mean, I'm sure he has interesting stories, but
not like kitten and puppy stories.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy. It is really easy to tell stories with our work in a way that not all professions get to enjoy.
Well, I agree. And you know what? I grew up reading James Herriot as well. And I think that because of him, the veterinary profession had a really good reputation when I was coming along. And now I don't think it's as positive. I think we've lost some of that being in touch, and it comes down to trust. And so I think that this podcast and all the things that you and I both do to help build that trust and return veterinarians to a trusted caregiver is really important, because that's why we do this, because we love it.
1,000%. Couldn't agree more.
Well, so I think I have taken up enough of your time, because you are very busy, I know. And so I just want to thank you for sharing with us a little bit about AHA. I hope my listeners learned something from you today, but thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of AHA.
Well, I'm happy to be. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us for Dr. Cat Gone to the Dogs. And I also want to thank Mark Winter, my amazing producer. I want all of my listeners to go out and raise the ruff.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.